How's it going, everybody? Been getting a lot of questions lately from those that watch the channel and those that come and go, whether you're a subscriber or not a subscriber. A question that I've been getting a lot lately is, I'm new to the IT industry, or I've just got into the IT industry and I've got some sort of low-level certification, CCNA, A+, Net+, maybe like a Microsoft cert or beginner Linux cert, something like that. Well, first of all, if that's you, congratulations for getting certified. Second of all, congratulations on either making the switch to break into IT or already having broken into IT. So those are two big first steps. So a question I get quite a bit, and it's like the most common, it's the most common commonality of all of the questions I get is, where do I go from here? And it really depends on where you want to go. So I'm going to take a minute here and break down exactly what I would recommend for any of you that are looking to move further into the certification realm. There's a couple things you're going to want to know. The first one is, what do you want to do? What track? What track means, is this going to be RNS? Is this going to be security? Is this going to be, are you looking to do data center stuff? So are you looking to do data center, something like that? Or, I'm studying service provider right now. That might be beneficial to you if you work for a service provider. If you like wireless, there's a wireless, I'm just going to put Wi-Fi here for ease. There's several different directions you can go within Cisco. And if that's the direction you choose to take, more power to you. The main thing that I wanted to cover here is, what are the steps that you would need to go through in order to get from where you are to where you want to be. So first of all, it's picking a track. So let's say you've picked a track. It doesn't make a difference what it is. 2, training material. Now there's a lot of vendors. Let's put training mat. There's a lot of vendors out there, whether you choose to go through, gray market, Cisco approved stuff, regardless of which direction you choose to go with training material. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of videos. Which one do you choose? Or which vendor do you choose? Do you choose to go through like an INE or a Global Knowledge or a, Cisco Press? That really is up to you. There's a lot of different stuff out there. If you Google, say Cisco training, right? There's going to be stuff out there. I work, that's a horrible training. I don't know why, but I think I need to remove my computer. It's acting weird. If you Google Cisco training, you're going to get a lot of results. And the problem is with routing and switching, security, data center, and wireless. Wireless is kind of hit and miss, but RNS, security, and data center, there's a lot of material out for that, because those are the three, and voice. Voice is another one that's very popular, or collaboration. There's a lot of material out there for those people that are interested in those tracks. You can pretty much just Google something and you're going to find a lot of information. Service provider and wireless, not so much. Now I'm working on the service provider stuff for INE, and I'm building that out right now. It just takes time to go through. Wireless, I'm actually a really good reference for those of you that are interested in studying for your wireless exam is Network Dojo. Now, Network Dojo is the guy that runs this. His name is Jeff. I won't give out his last name, but if you Google it, you'll find it. He's a really smart dude when it comes to wireless. He's got a CCNA in wireless. So definitely something I would recommend if you're going down that track. There is no complete service provider training out there at all from a video perspective. There is a book that was just released recently. A really good friend of mine, his name is Nick. If you Google the Service Provider version 4 Comprehensive Guide, if you Google it just like I have it written out there, you will find the book that I'm telling you about. It's around $200, although it is a great read. Now, the caveat to this is he starts you off at the CCIE level. So when you're going through and you want to learn service provider, he's assuming you already know IGP, BGP, and core MPLS. He takes you from there, somebody that might have studied for CCNP service provider, or maybe like myself, a CCNA in routing and switching. He takes you from that level and moves you into the service provider specific content, which is really what the book is designed for. It's a really good read. I'm actually going through it right now. So those are a couple different avenues you could take. Now, Cisco training is a big one, but even more important than this one, even though it's bullet number 3, it's the blueprint for the exam you're going after. This is absolutely huge. I don't name drop people if I don't get a I won't give out their last name, I should say. Somebody that I know, he took his CCNA exam just recently, and he failed it. And when I asked him about it, I said, well, what exam number did you take? Now, mind you, this person does not work in the IT industry. He is not a network person at all. He's working on getting his CCNA. And, more power to him. If that's what you want to do, hey, knock it out. I asked him, I said, well, what caught you off guard? Because he said there were some things on the exam that he'd never heard of before, and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, okay. So my first thought was, okay, if you had never heard about it, then you weren't ready for it. And so I asked him, and he gave me a couple acronyms, and he gave me the exam number that he took, and then I looked that exam number up. So, blueprint. Absolutely critical that you go through the blueprint for any exam you're going to take. Why? Well, for one, this is going to be all topics. All topics that you're going to get tested on in the exam, whether it's a multiple choice exam, whether there might be a couple of simulations in there that you have to walk through. It's going to list all topics. In addition to that, it's going to tell you, once you list all the topics, it's going to give you a breakdown to how deep. There are some things where it's going to be, for instance, describe. Can you talk about spanning tree protocol? There might be other ones where it says configure. So you might actually have to go in and configure Ether channel. Really simple stuff, but you may have to do it. So it's going to give you an idea of to what depth you have to learn this stuff to. Now, when you've gone through all the topics, and there could be a lot, but that's the whole purpose of the blueprint. So when you go through all topics, and you find the blueprint for the exam you're going to be taking. Now, CCNA specifically for RNS, this is where this one is kind of focused towards right at the moment, has 2 exams. You have the ICND 1, which is actually the CCENT, Cisco Certified Entry-Level Network Technician. This exam right there is part 1 of 2 parts for getting your CCNA in routing and switching. When you pass this exam, you get this certification. This is how I went about getting Cisco certified. I had a instructor several years ago, probably 4 or 5 now. I asked him, I said, well, how'd you get your CCNA? And he said he went the 2 exam route, ICND 1, then ICND 2. They have ICND 2. This is your CCNA. And once you pass that exam, you get your CCNA. So this means when you get done with the 2 exams, whether you take the composite exam or you take the 2 exam path, it's the same price. So I said, why didn't you take the 2 exam route? It's the same cost. You didn't save it. You actually save $5 by going the composite route, but I mean, $5 isn't going to make or break you in the grand scheme of things. So if you're going to be if you're brand new to IT and brand new to networking, 2 exam route. And then once you've passed CCNA, which actually Cisco has revamped a lot of these certifications to where you don't actually have to have a CCNA in order to move forward. A lot of the prerequisites for all the other tracks like security and voice and wireless require you to have at least a CCENT, which is going to cover more of the what is IP, what is a switch, what is a router, more of the theoretical aspects of it, and then there's going to be a little bit of RIP a little bit of OSPF, a little bit of EIGRP, stuff like that. These are going to be things that are going to definitely help you long term. Now, the thing that really needs to be understood here is, where do you want to go from here? So how do you find the blueprint? Well, the blueprint can be found on the vendor's website. So I will show you how to navigate both Cisco, VMware, and Microsoft. Now, I'm not Microsoft certified, but it's easy enough to find this stuff. So that is my recommendation for any of you that are looking to go, whether it's Cisco, VMware, or Microsoft. So the first one we're going to take a look at is, I'm going to go to Cisco's website. So I'm literally going to, give me 1 second so I can get Cisco's website pulled up. Cisco.com. So let that pull up real quick. Alright, so here we go. I'm actually going to move this off so I can keep on track with what I'm talking about. So here, we're on Cisco's website, right? Well, we're going to click on Training and Events, and we're going to go to CCNA. This is where you would go. Now, if you click on View All Certifications, you can do that as well. That's going to take you to a different page. And then you click on, you have your career certifications, you have your specialist, you have your retired certifications, and you have how to recertify. So all entry, associate, and professional level is good for 3 years. All CCNA certifications are good for 2 years. All special certifications are good for 2 years, and Cisco Certified Architect is good for 5. So that gives you an idea of how that goes. If you are going for CCNA, routing and switching, you click on here. It takes you to this path. There's 3 different ways you can go about doing this. You can go the composite exam, which I will pull this up for you guys, make it easier for you guys to see. So you have the 2 exam. You have the composite or the accelerated version of it. Don't do this if you don't already work in IT. A lot of people will take this exam to basically, if they've already worked in IT for a while and you already know most of this stuff, this is the direction I would recommend going in. If not, take the ICND 1 and then the ICND 2, that route. It's much easier to work with. But let's say, for instance, you took this exam right here. Okay, so we're going to come out here. Now, this exam, last day to take this test is August 20th of this year. If you come down here, click on Read the Exam Topics, and this brings you over to the Cisco Learning Network. And then right here in the middle of the screen, you'll see Download Complete List of Topics in PDF format. Download this. If you don't have some sort of PDF reader, Internet Explorer will open this. And then what you need to do is you need to go through and you need to start going through all of this information. And this is how you would do that. So normally what I do is I copy and paste all this right here. I literally just do this. I copy and paste it into like Notepad or Microsoft Word or something. And then from there, I can go and move it into getting stuff situated with adding notes to it. So like verify network status and switch operations using basic utilities such as SSH. Or Telnet or ping. And then, so can I reach the device? Yes, I can. Can I actually get to the device via Telnet or SSH? So these are going to be things that you're going to want to be talking about. And this is going to be your Bible when you go take the exam. So you're going to want to go through this thing from top to bottom. And so as you go through here, if you're, if you've never seen some of these options, like how does this stuff work for NAT, it says identify the basic operation. So what this is basically telling you here, the first portion is, what are all these different ways of NATing? What is the purpose of NAT? It's IP address conservation. What is it? A pool. Well, that's going to be a group of addresses that you could possibly NAT to or from. Static is going to be you're NATing to a specific IP. One-to-one ties back to static, where you're NATing from maybe a public IP to a private IP. So when, like for instance, that public IP has a DNS public entry for it, so like say google.com, if you're hitting that public IP on a particular port, then there's actually NATing that internally to a private address, which is a group of web servers, something like that. Then you have overloading. How do you get a group of users on the inside to talk out one public IP? Source addressing, and then we have one-way NAT. How do you get off the network? So there's going to be things like that, and then they're configure and verify NAT for given network requirements. This is a CCNA exam. They're not going to go super complicated with you on the NAT. They're probably going to ask you, how do you do a one-to-one NAT translation, and how do you do, a dynamic NAT, which basically, or policy NAT, which is usually where the pool comes into play, where you're NATing from a block of public IPs to a block of internal IPs, stuff like that. Then they're going to have other things like first hop redundancy protocols or recognize high availability, and then they're going to have other things that they go along. This is what you really want to come through here, and you have to read through. You have to understand how this stuff works. So like right here, they want to talk about Metro Ethernet and cellular 3G and 4G, MPLS, T1, E1. There is a major difference between these two. If you don't know what that is, that's something you're going to want to pay attention to. So this is your Bible when it comes to going through and learning how this stuff works. Now, I'm going to go ahead and Google real quick. I'm going to type in here, I'm going to say VMware right here. Expand this guy out. And I'm going to do Microsoft as well. Microsoft certifications. And that should be there. So now, we're here on VMware site. So let's assume that you've never been here before and you don't know how to work this. Well, the first one is over on the left-hand side. Let's see, is it left-hand side? Oh, top center here. If you zoom in a little bit, you'll see training. Click on training, and then from here you're going to want to click on certification. And then from here you're going to want to pick which type of certification you're going for. Are you going to go for data center virtualization, server virtualization? Are you going for cloud management automation? Are you going to be doing something with like vCloud Director and things like that? Desktop mobility? Are you looking at doing something like VDI, or you're deploying a bunch of virtual machines in the on your ESXi host, and then using some sort of the View client or maybe remote desktop to connect into these boxes? Are you trying to do NSX with network virtualization? Are you trying to deploy little virtual routers and switches and firewalls and load balancers inside of your ESXi environment? So that really depends on where you're trying to go. Now for me, I'm actually studying for DCV right now for my VCIX in 6. And so I'd come here, and now I've already got a VCP 6 in data center virtualization. I've already got that. So let's say, for instance, I'm looking to take the VCIX DCV. Now, where this comes into play here is you get this certification when you pass VCAP design and VCAP deploy. These are both like hands-on labs, which are basically going to be the CCIE version of the VMware side for data center virtualization. However, not as complicated as CCIE. So I'm going to click on this guy, and then if you need to know what you're going to have to cover, and we're going to say path 1, we're going to say you click on the particular exam that you want to look into, and here is what you need to do. So you have two different paths. If you hold a valid VCP 6 but no advanced certifications, this is where you're going to go. And then what you're going to do is you're going to come in here and click on this guy, and this is going to be the exam topics. So you're going to want to go through here and know how to do each one of these things. This is your blueprint, right? So you're going to go through here, and it gives you some tools in order to help bridge that gap. So it's assuming that if you're going after an advanced professional certification, that you already know how this stuff works. I can spin up, and I will show you the actual server that I use. This guy right here. This is my VMware server. It's actually a Windows 7 host that I've got workstation running inside of, and all I need to do is go through here and set up things so that I can play with vCenter and stuff like that, and it does work. Completely works. That is one example. Now, if you have other like aspirations, maybe you want to do the I'm trying to think off the top of my head what you would. So June 50 limited seats. So we can start. Can we start actually taking the test? $100. I can't see it being that cheap. Anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. But maybe maybe you want to do something else inside of VMware. Maybe you want to do something like desktop mobility, or maybe you want to do NSX. So you just follow the same path that I took here just a moment ago. You would just go back to the overall track that you want to take, which in this case here would be Maybe you want to do NSX. So you do NSX, and you want to get your VCP in network virtualization. So then you would come down here and you would say, just starting out in VMware technology, and then you would click on this exam, and then you would come in here and here's the exam topics. What you need to know about network virtualization, and the install, configure, manage course you'd have to take right here. This course is what you have to I'm pretty sure you had to take this course in order for you to be able to take and pass the exam. I'd have to double check on that, but it says recommended training. I'm not sure if it's required, but I'm not going to go into detail on that right now. That's going to be how you would want to do network virtualization, things like that. So that's going to help you understand where you can find the material and stuff like that. The last one here is going to be Microsoft. Now, I'm not doing the Linux and stuff like that because I have no experience with Linux, but I do have experience with Microsoft. So we have Find Certifications. We're going to click in here, and we're going to work our way through this. Now, what do you want to do with Microsoft? Well, Microsoft is a server platform for the most part. Now, there are other things, as you can see. We're going to say server. Now, if you click in server, you've got several different paths. So you have the MTA, which is basically the foundations. Then you have the Solutions Associate, which is combining the Server 2008, Server 2012. You'll find that this is more of your day-to-day operations, and you're looking at a smaller deployment. Like maybe you have a Fortune 500 company, but you only have, you're considered small to mid-sized business. Maybe you've only got 10 or 15 locations and maybe just a few hundred employees. This would be a small to medium-sized business. MCSE is when you are in a global IT infrastructure. This is where you have locations throughout the world. You are a Fortune 500 company, but you have tens of thousands of users. So it really depends on which way you want to go with that. Now, MCSA is a very popular certification. So if you click on Server 2012, and this would be the exams you'd need to take here, and you would say, you'd have this one. So if I want to take the 70-410 exam, I click on this, and then down here at the bottom, the skills measured. So here's what you would need to know. Install, configure servers. So you need to go through here, and this is the blueprint. Now you have different ways of going through it, but you have configure Hyper-V, 15 to 20%. Then you have server roles and features, stuff like that. So this is going to be where you'd find the blueprint for that track as well. So if you want to go Microsoft, so be it. If you want to go VMware, more power to you. I've got a lot more experience in Cisco than I do in any of the other two. So that's where most of my experience is going to lie. But at the end of the day, you really need to focus on what you want to do. How do you want to go about doing it? Read the blueprint. Lab. I mean, I can't tell you that enough. For Cisco, you're going to want to download Packet Tracer. So Packet Tracer itself is actually a really cool tool. If we click on Packet Tracer, you can download Packet Tracer if you're in the Net Academy. There's a lot of labs, so if you click in here and type in labs, there's places where you can download. I'm kind of going off on a limb here. I don't know what labs these guys have. So they got quite a few actually. This will help you break stuff down, but if you come through here, I'm sure there is free CCNA lab. I believe I know the guy that runs this one. You can come through here, and there's plenty of labs that you can run through here, and it's like if you're trying to do routing. Oh, it's not finished loading yet. But you could click on one of these things here, and it's going to help you understand, what's going on, what's inside the exam, and stuff like that. It's going to help you in that regard. So you click on routing, and it's going to bring you to routing specific ones. And there's older entries. They're a bit dated, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't make much of a difference. It's what you understand how to do. Now, security, I just wonder if they have a... as you can see, it's a little slow. I'm not sure if it's my end or if it's their server, but that's just one way you can do that. Now, for VMware, they've actually got a couple different ways you can do it. You can do it this way, here where I went out and I bought my own server, and I run VMware. I run, because you can virtualize ESXi and run it here. I've got an ESXi server sitting here. and that I run. It runs beautifully. You can virtualize the hypervisor. And then one of the things I haven't brought up to you guys yet is my home environment. Let me bring this back over here real quick. In my home environment, what I do is I have my ESXi host, right? He connects here, and I have two NICs. I have one going to the management, and I have one going to the storage area network. Now this NIC, there's actually 3 hosts that I have. Each one of them connects to the SAN, and I have a little Netgear 1 gig switch that sits in here, and then he has a link going to an old Dell PC running the SAN. So I'm virtualizing a hard drive, and each one of these hosts has access to it. So on this guy right here, he is my VM server for running VMware, and these guys are running Cisco right here, each one of them. Now the thing here with the VM server is I can map any of my storage stuff, and I can show you guys how to do that. It's actually really simple. I can utilize these are physical servers, but ESXi is running on top of it, so this is virtualizing everything. So this is an actual physical ESXi server like you would see inside of a production environment. This one right here is just VMware Workstation running on top of Windows 7. I find it works really, really well. At least in my experience it does. And what I do here is I get this guy situated, and then I map the what would be in the VMware Workstation side of the house, what would be the storage area network in the VM networking of VMware Workstation. I map that NIC to the NIC on the physical host, and then I'm able to talk to the virtual environment on the back end. So I'm going to do another video on that separately to show you guys what I mean by that. But that's how I go about doing things, and then I can pretty much run anything that I want on top of it and go from there. So any VMware that I do, I can set up several hosts and stuff like that and go from there. Makes things very, very easy to work with and very, very easy to become operational. But that's one way you can do that. VMware does have an option. They call it the VMware hands-on labs. So if you go here, the VMware hands-on labs is really cool. Now it automatically brings it up for me. And if you come in here, if you have specific stuff you want to talk about here, like software-defined data center, there's different labs for that. And then it's still loading. I think I need to reboot. My computer's running kind of slow. There's different things that you can work with inside of here that are going to give you at least a breakdown as to how things are working. The nice thing about it here is when you get this stuff working, you can go ahead and it launches it. I really haven't gone through too much here, but it gives you that flexibility to work with it and stuff like that. I believe Microsoft has something similar to that. Let me see if I can find it. Microsoft Virtual Labs. Is that what I'm looking for? I've never been to here before, so I don't know what to expect. Because I'm not a Microsoft engineer. I'm just trying to help you guys figure out the best way to move forward. I don't see anything in here. No, that's not what I'm looking for. The best way I can tell you to do this would be along the same lines with the VMware stuff. Is download VMware Workstation, and once you have it, you can install the ESXi, or I'm sorry, you can install the Windows servers. You actually can get an evaluation copy for 120 days, I think it is, or 180 days. They give you a 6-month window on the license. So that's for every new install. So like if you're studying Active Directory or group policy or distributed file systems or whatever the case might be, you're able to go in there and spin this stuff up, and as long as they're on the same VMnet, they'll be able to talk with each other. Now you might say, well, how do you create VMnets? If you click on the edit and click on Virtual Network Editor, you can come in here and give that a second just to load up. You come in here and you can say host only. You can give it an IP address and a VMnet too, so that when you're in on, say, for instance, vCenter, you click on here or click on why is this not? Oh, sorry. You click on like ESXi 1 or vCenter. Okay, so I click on vCenter. I click on edit this virtual machine settings. and I click on the network adapter, I can come in here and I can say I want to add a network adapter. Click on network adapter, and then down here in the custom specified one, I can go VMnet 2. So the more VMs that you put in the same VMnet, they'll be able to talk with each other. And that way here you'll be able to go ahead and let them talk with each other, and then they'll be able to communicate with each other. This way here you can test things out like DNDHCP and DNS records and stuff like that. It gives you that flexibility of spinning that up. You can get a decent computer on eBay. I've been picking up a lot of servers on eBay, and I'm paying between $300 and $500 for the server. And I usually shoot for 64 gigs of RAM because I need much larger deployments. So if I click on here, this is my one ESXi server. I've got 15 routers running right now, 15 iOS routers, 4 XRV routers, plus a Windows 7 box, so that I can do Wireshark packet captures, because I'm digging into service provider pretty heavy right now. So I need to be able to see what's going on in both the debug and the Wireshark captures. So that's how I'm going about doing that. Now that's my angle. So I know not everybody can afford that. So if you've got the room to do it on a computer that say has maybe 8 gigs of RAM, I would recommend downloading and installing VMware Workstation, and then install 1 or 2 VMs. Now, mind you, whenever you install Workstation, the Workstation is going to use the resources of the host computer to run the virtual machines. So if you notice that your computer's utilization starts climbing, that's because there's virtual machines utilizing that. And you have to be careful with that, because you could slow the machine down to where it's unusable. But there are, like, I'm not sure exactly how to word them, but there are like protection mechanisms in place to make sure that doesn't happen. So just keep that in the back of your mind. There are lots of training tools and things for you to play with. If you have any questions on stuff, or what have you, I'll be happy to answer that. If you know somebody that's got resources to play with, ask them if they're not busy using it, if you could use it, and get maybe some lab time. Usually, for people that I know that are in the family, I will allow them to connect. I'll NAT them in from the public side, and I'll let them use a VM that gives them access to some stuff so they can play around with it. So it gives them that flexibility, because I know not everybody has the labs built up. It's taken me roughly 5 years to build what I've got now, and it's in place, it's running, it's functional, it works. So that's pretty much that's all I do, really. So that's what I would recommend you guys do. You guys take it easy. It's been great. Thank you for all the support. Until next time, you guys take it easy.